If you believe that love is not supposed to be this hard, that the right relationship should feel natural, effortless, and calm most of the time, I need you to listen carefully, because that belief shaped every relationship of my life, and it's the reason I'm speaking to you now, not to convince you, not to judge you, but because I'm 81 years old and I finally understand what that belief quietly destroyed while I thought I was protecting myself. I'm 81 years old, and for most of my life, I believed that when love became difficult, it meant something was wrong, that tension was a warning sign, that conflict meant incompatibility, and that if a relationship required too much effort, it probably wasn't the right one. That idea didn't come from nowhere. It came from stories, from movies, from advice passed down casually, from friends who said things like, "It shouldn't be this hard," whenever a relationship entered a season that felt uncomfortable, uncertain, or emotionally demanding. So I learned very early to see difficulty as a threat instead of a signal. When something felt complicated, I assumed it meant failure. When emotions became intense, I assumed something was broken. When a relationship asked more of me than I was ready to give, I told myself that love wasn't supposed to require this much work. And because of that belief, I spent years avoiding the very moments that could have deepened my relationships. Not by leaving dramatically, but by pulling away quietly, by withholding honesty, by waiting for things to feel easier instead of learning how to stay present when they didn't. The truth is, love rarely ends because of one big mistake. It erodes slowly. It fades in the space between unspoken words. It weakens in moments where it feels easier to stay silent than to risk discomfort. I didn't understand this when I was younger, because I thought love was something you felt, not something you practiced. And when the feeling faded or became heavy, I assumed it meant the relationship was wrong. So I waited. I waited for clarity. I waited for certainty. I waited for a version of love that felt effortless enough to justify staying fully open. And while I was waiting, connections quietly thinned. I married young, like many people of my generation, believing that commitment itself would solve uncertainty, that choosing early and staying loyal would somehow guarantee closeness, without realizing that commitment without emotional presence slowly turns into coexistence. We built a life together. We shared responsibilities. We functioned well, but we didn't grow together because growth requires friction, and friction felt like danger to me. Whenever tension appeared, I avoided it. Whenever difficult conversations surfaced, I postponed them. Whenever my partner expressed needs that felt inconvenient or overwhelming, I told myself that love shouldn't feel this demanding. What I didn't realize then was that avoidance doesn't protect love. It starves it. And starvation doesn't look dramatic. It looks like distance. It looks like politeness replacing intimacy. It looks like two people doing their best while quietly feeling alone next to each other. I watched relationships around me follow the same pattern. People leaving not because they stopped caring, but because they stopped trying to understand. People saying we grew apart, when what really happened is that they stopped engaging when things became uncomfortable. People blaming compatibility when the real issue was emotional immaturity on both sides. The belief that love should be easy gives you a perfect excuse to disengage the moment effort is required. And that belief is incredibly seductive because it sounds healthy, it sounds self-respecting, and it sounds empowering, when in reality it often masks fear, fear of vulnerability, fear of conflict, fear of being seen too clearly. I lost someone I loved deeply, not because we lacked chemistry, affection, or history, but because neither of us knew how to stay present when love asked us to stretch beyond our comfort. Years later, when I finally slowed down enough to reflect honestly, I realized something painful, which is that love doesn't become hard because it's wrong. It becomes hard because two people are confronting their differences, their wounds, and their unmet expectations in real time. Difficulty is not the enemy of love. Avoidance is. The hardest relationships I've seen were not destroyed by conflict, but by silence, by resentment that never found words, by needs that felt too inconvenient to express, by partners waiting for the other to change instead of learning how to engage differently. When you believe love shouldn't be hard, you interpret effort as failure. And when you interpret effort as failure, you stop investing right when it matters most. I wish someone had told me this earlier. I wish someone had explained that love doesn't ask for perfection. It asks for participation, and participation means staying when things are uncomfortable, instead of waiting for them to feel easy again. The relationships that lasted in my life were not the ones without conflict. They were the ones where both people were willing to stay curious instead of defensive, to listen instead of withdraw, and to choose engagement even when pride suggested retreat. By the time I understood this fully, I had already lost years I could not recover, not because love failed me, but because I failed to understand what love actually requires. If you're listening to this and thinking about a relationship that feels difficult right now, understand this clearly. Difficulty does not automatically mean incompatibility. Tension does not automatically mean danger, and effort does not mean you chose wrong. Sometimes it simply means you're standing at the edge of growth, and growth never feels comfortable at first. I'm 81 years old now, and what I know with certainty is that love is not supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be honest, and honesty is often uncomfortable before it becomes healing. If I could speak to my younger self, I wouldn't tell her to lower her standards or tolerate disrespect, but I would tell her to stop confusing discomfort with dysfunction and to stop waiting for love to feel effortless before giving it her full presence. Because the relationships you lose by avoiding difficulty are often the ones that could have taught you the most about yourself, about intimacy, and about what it truly means to stay. And the regret that follows is not loud. It's quiet. It's subtle. It shows up years later when you finally understand what you walked away from while telling yourself you were protecting your peace. So if there's one thing I hope you take from this, it's this. Love is not destroyed by effort, it is destroyed by avoidance. And the belief that it shouldn't be this hard is often the very thing that keeps it from becoming deep, resilient, and real.